Okay, hello and welcome to these future sessions. My name is Mcintyre-Brown. I'm the Director of Research here at Futuresource. These sessions aren't anything particularly new. For several years we've been, at the end of the year, we've been looking at what's gone and our reflections on that, and then what we expect to happen in the future. What we're doing here is to try and bring that to life in video, so kind of practicing what we're preaching and what we're seeing happening in the industry. This is very much about short form content. We can't hope to kind of cover everything in any depth, so if anything we talk about in these sessions piques your interest, then please get in touch and we'd love to talk to you in more detail about that. So in these sessions we're here from our 6 practice heads, thinking about the technology trends and the drivers shaping the future of the industry. But before we do that, let's maybe just take a second to think about the world around us and where we are right now. I'm recently returned from a trip to Asia, quite a long trip, taking in 3 countries, 20 plus meetings. And whilst obviously the focus of that was talking about technology trends and how we see the future of those, a lot of the conversation was around more macro issues. And to give some of that, or to give that some life, we spoke a lot about COVID, and we'll hear a lot about that in these sessions. And where we kind of are globally in terms of the recovery of that. It was fascinating for us being in Asia, and COVID was really all around us. We were having to present in masks, in the street we were having to wear masks, whereas I think in Western markets and certainly in North America it kind of feels a little bit in the rearview mirror for us now. We spoke a lot about geopolitical uncertainty. Obviously we have our thoughts around Russia and Ukraine. Also we're thinking about some tensions in China and Taiwan, China and the US. There's a lot of uncertainty out there. We also spent a long time talking about supply chain and logistical issues. Quite a lot of those issues were as a result of COVID. When we're thinking about supply chain, we're also thinking about component shortages, and we spent a long time talking particularly about semiconductor shortages and some of the responses to inshoring or more localized production. When we're thinking about logistical problems, obviously we've seen the cost of freight, be that by sea or air. The cost there is absolutely spiraling, starting to come back down now, but obviously that's had a big impact on the technology sector. And we've seen companies reevaluate their supply chains as well, and that causes some other interesting consequences. When we think about product design, we think about resilience testing and longer term how those products are going to perform in the open market. There's a lot of question marks from our clients around that. We talk about geopolitical uncertainty, and here we think mostly around Russia, Ukraine, but we also think about Taiwan and China. We think about China and the US. There's a lot happening globally which is causing anxiousness and uncertainty. When we think about Russia and Ukraine, it's not just from a demand perspective, but also when we think about some of the production in those companies of raw materials and also food. When we think about corn, for example, that then has a knock-on impact in financial markets. So then we start to think about inflation, and we start to think about global recession which is looming, and how countries react to that, and then also how our business reacts to that in terms of consumer demand. So there's a lot going on globally out there, and it's a challenging time I think on many fronts. But as we take the pulse of the industry, not just in the meetings we had, but the thousands of interviews that we undertake every quarter, actually there's a real feeling of optimism and positivity out there. So we hope that these sessions, these next 6 sessions, explain why we think that, and we look forward to talking to you more about those.